Well, after 7 years, hundreds of trades, and more frustration than I like to admit, I realized something embarrassing. All the time I spent tweaking indicators, chasing the next perfect strategy, it was just a wasted energy. Real solution is way simpler, and believe or not, it's actually even way more personal than I thought. I will share the 7 painful and the most impactful lessons from my 7 years of trading. And I can assure you, if you realize these lessons way early in your journey, you're gonna have like way more easy path to your trading profitability or your trading consistency. And I can assure you, if you will realize these lessons as soon as possible, you're gonna save yourself a shit ton of time. I would definitely say the last lesson has been literally a game changer to me, but to a certain degree, the first lesson is also really important. So what I learned the first was the rushing will hurt you as fuck. What you should be aiming obviously is to choose a patience over a haste when it comes to your trading process, because hey, I used to chase the trades. I used to force so many setups, it's actually insane. And believe or not, or maybe surprising, maybe not, but most of my losses basically came from impatience. Nowadays, I preach good trades takes time. So basically wait for your moment. Great example would be last 3 weeks where we talking about the price action on our Discord, and I've been posting the analysis, and pretty much 3 weeks in a row, the first half of the week seems to be so shitty that it almost feels like you're not gonna have any decent setup. But later on, Thursday, Friday, 2 beautiful setups, really easy to spot, really easy to execute, and pretty much done for the month. So good trades take time. Wait for your moment, which you can also translate it to market rewards discipline, not urgency. And maybe you also heard that kind of cliche, the slow is smooth and the smooth is profitable. So yep, it's definitely the truth. I also screenshotted my equity curve on the longest account that I have. This is the account I've been trading for a couple of years. I suffered so many drawdowns on the way. There is also one a little bit here. But basically all these losses came from my emotional statement. In the first half, I usually was basically chasing the trades, chasing the setups, forcing it. And for actually quite some time, I was basically keep losing ladder trades. Then few good trades put you back on the momentum, and then you're riding for quite some time. And after many trades, I caught into the same mistakes. I was chasing the setups, I was looking for, or I was basically forcing the setups, but eventually I was able to managing these periods rather well. And as you see, as I grew more and more, this is actually a result of overconfidence. It actually happened to me so many times when I did really well on my account and basically 2-3x after I felt pretty much invincible. And usually what happens when you feel invincible, you start to disregarding your own rules, and eventually you're gonna fucked up really hard, which obviously you can see here. And it actually take quite some time to recover. That also leads to the lesson number 2. So basically be smart with your risk and just don't be an idiot. I used to aim for let's say a decent percentage on the month. The more I was attached to these numbers, the bigger drawdown I eventually had on my account. Now I aim for few percent monthly because I grew my capital in the first place, but also in the second, when I aim for a few good trades, eventually it helped me with my psychology, because such a goal is very doable and very achievable. And since I was able to having this kind of goal, pretty much every single month has been outstanding, and I outperform my own goal. If this is not your first video in the trading, you probably heard many times, cut your losses quickly, which to be honest, I don't understand at all. Low-key, it kinda sounds like a bullshit, because if you having an edge, you will figure out if you were right or wrong on a trade based on your stop loss. Obviously, there are some options how you can managing your trade. What I would say is just focus on staying in this game for a long run. I genuinely believe the longer you're gonna stay, the more likely you're gonna succeed, because you will learn how to managing your risk and basically your risk appetite, and over time you will tweak it into well-controlled risk approach. Long story short, your edge is risk control, not prediction. Obviously, if you're following me for a couple of years, you know that I also like to diversify my account into, let's say, a high risk approach, but the 80% of my portfolio is basically on this right side, which makes me feel more calm, cool, collected. To a certain degree, I can project how much income I'm gonna be making if I'm not gonna be complete idiot and follow just the rules. Moving on into the lesson number 3, the strategy must fit you basically like a shoes. I've copied strategies from social media, and to be honest, none of them work in the long run, and I believe many of you guys would feel or still feeling the same way, because there was something in the system, or rather I was lacking something in the system. I wasn't failing, but I wasn't winning either, because the system genuinely was bad. Why? Because it wasn't just mine. I am a heavy believer that the system must match your mindset, schedule, and pretty much also your decision speed. You need to understand it, not just following it. And I am so bullish on like data and adaptation. So like adapt and own your system. It pretty much becomes your weapon, because once you understand all your personal needs, then the results will show itself. And like I said, the longer you're gonna stay, the more likely you're gonna succeed. And also at the same time, it will get much easier. Lesson number 4, one trade means shit. There were good times I used to celebrate individual wins and pretty much beat up myself over some losses. Well, believe or not, the truth is one trade is just one data point. You can measure real performance over 20 plus trades or even more, but measuring your performance and your quality over 1 or 2 trades is like sheer bullshit. Just think about the losses as a cost of doing business, but also unveiling your weaknesses and not your personal failures. Think of losses as something like cost of doing business, but also unveiling your weaknesses. Long story short, if you're gonna focus on a few trades rather than the entire system, and if you're not gonna treat it as a business, you better spend time doing something else. The 5th lesson, the profits doesn't have to be smooth and steady. This might sound weird, but trading isn't a monthly paycheck. Yes, once you're having an edge, it can be, but a lot of people, a lot of traders also having a bad months, bad weeks, sometimes even the bad quarter. So it's also really important to looking at it from the bigger view and from the distance. Some months I totally crash it and some I barely trade it. Most of my profits came from a few days of trading. We can touch upon this topic maybe in the future where I can show you my updated trading journal, but basically don't expect the same results every month. Like I mentioned earlier, last 3 weeks seems to be rather slow, but the last day or 2 pretty much cover the entire month of price action. Learn to turn up the risk when the setup is right and just step back when you don't see anything. If the setup is not there, if setup is not ready, don't fucking chase it. In a day or 2 or in a week or 2, there will be the opportunity that you will make all the profits back and even more in just a few trades. We're almost finishing. This one is really important. No matter how many times I'm gonna mention this, people still gonna do it the other way around, but it's fine because the people who will understand it will take the money from the people who don't. When I was chasing the money, when I was chasing some goal, that basically led me to doing impulsive mistakes. But once I start to sticking to my process and focusing on my edge, I start seeing exponential growth. I know, shocking, right? Journaling, planning, and reviews basically gave me some clarity, and basically having a solid routine is so freaking powerful. Basically think of it this way: the profit is a side effect of doing the right things. And now moving to the last one, which this is basically literally the game changer, and the more I think about it, it doesn't have to do actually anything with the trading at all. What finally made me consistent was confidence. Knowing my system inside out helped me a lot, but it still felt like I missing something. The key thing that helped me to gain confidence was pretty much outside of trading. I had no problem taking losses. I was afraid of failure. I could stay disciplined for a while, but I kept doubting myself when winning. The root problem was deep within me and had nothing to do basically with the trading. The trading basically just released or like exposed my weaknesses. That's why I heavily suggest you guys to think deeply on and be really genuinely honest. Be fucking honest with yourself. What do you really think of yourself? That itself gonna be such a game changer on your trading journey, even in your life overall. Guess what? Like later, the more I trusted my own decision, the more consistent I become. I accepted that losses don't define me and my process does. And I stopped second guessing myself after the losses because I finally understood all these 6 previous lessons, and basically everything starts clicking once you unveil your biggest weakness. And if you're looking at this graph, this basically represents your potential. This is your edge, your strategy, whatever you want to call it. This is basically how you would be performing if you don't have any demons, if you don't have any weaknesses, if you have enough confidence, if you have enough discipline, your system is right, your mental statement is right. But the more demons you're gonna have, the more you're gonna fucked up. So like I mentioned in the lesson number 7, think about deeply what you think of yourself, because if you're not gonna do it, you will be always underperforming your trading edge.